Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. It's been so long that I said it in the wrong order, but that's what it means to me. Even me, an experienced campaigner like me, the nerves can get the better of me, and I say my own trademark opening, get it all wrong. But this is what REDFELLAS does to me, and the sight of Liverpool winning games of football again. People, you are very welcome. Yes, it may be a Monday. Yes, it may be an awkward time, but REDFELLAS is back. And Liverpool are back. And Liverpool continuing to do the absolute embarrassment of Man United continues as well. You are right. You are right. Seems to be a new signing, as you can see. Liverpool may not make signings, but we at REDFELLAS continue to invest in the squad, and we have a new signing, as you can see. Mohamed, I know you've been on many other shows, but welcome to REDFELLAS, my friend. Welcome to REDFELLAS.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's great to be here. Yeah, as you said, Chris, I've been in a lot of calls in the past, so yeah, it's good to make my debut, I guess. Hopefully I shine.
And what a debut to make, my friend. What a debut to make.
Oh, absolutely.
Rooks is in the building. He says, hope you're all doing well. Slotball is looking pretty tasty. Hit the likes. You'll never walk alone. Big Sam says, we absolutely clap these Manx. Our resident Elvis Presley look at big up Grizz of Water Panel. You know what time it is. Smash the likes for the mighty Red Men 3-0. Mr. Keith Cross, just about being able to get you're a big time celebrity now, getting married out in the Middle East, you know what I mean, traveling the world, talk sport, co-sign with Andy Goldstein. I don't know if that's a flex, to be honest with you. I don't know if you should flex that, really. You know what I mean, that's not something but it is what it is. How you doing?
It's not a flex when I see that phone bill at the end of the week after I was waiting for about 10 minutes to get through. But yes, for those that don't know, I called in and answered the question of all questions. Is Mo Salah a bigger legend than Steven Gerrard? And I believe that he is. And he proved it once again on Sunday with an absolutely amazing performance. So I am happy. I'm taking a lot of stick today, but I take all that stick in my stride, Grizz. You know how it is, man. We got to say to be said, and I'm so happy to be back with the brothers here to speak on it. Let me say it like this.
100%. And look, we're not really going to open up a can of worms and start that debate about who is the greatest. We're just going to embrace the greatness of them all. People, smash up the likes button as you get in. I know it's a bit of an awkward time on a day, and you're thinking, what is this really? REDFELLAS back? It is REDFELLAS. Conroy should be joining us any second, hopefully. Everything's a bit rusty. My opening statement, the Conroy's signing in. Liverbird is in the building. He says, great three on the panel. Been waiting for Soccer God's take on Slotball. Well, Soccer God is here. Soccer God, it's been a while. How are you?
I'm doing great. And to give my very quick preliminary thoughts on Slotball, it's like slipping into a hot bath. It's very relaxing. It's occasionally boring, but that's not a bad thing. I think after the last few years, maybe that's just what the doctor ordered for our particular fan base. But yeah, I'm doing good. I'm wrapping my head around Keith's controversial call-in. I'm getting back into the flow of things.
Why does he get involved in these kind of hot, crazy topics, either on Spaces, Twitter, YouTube, and now it's call-in shows?
Well, it's just like publicity. There's no such thing as bad publicity. I forget who coined that term, but maybe it's true. I've never really thought about it. Maybe Keith will enlighten us at some point during the show. But yeah, I'm not going to go down that path because this show is this show is more about celebrating what happened yesterday. And boy, we're going to have a nice celebration today.
100% PIDs in the building. So smash up the likes for grab spinning menu on the decks. Yeah, that was hilarious. That was hilarious. Evan looking like Snowden. Is that? Am I missing?
Edward Snowden. Yeah, he was a CIA whistleblower. He basically was like, yeah, the CIA can hack your phone whenever they want to.
Interesting. Big up, lads. Smash those likes for LFC for like. Listen, we're all happy to be back. We're all happy to have you back. REDFELLAS are back. Nick, yep, they are indeed. You already knows how the structure of this show goes. We have a grown-up chat on REDFELLAS. You know what I mean? But today we may not be grown up because Keith, these kind of things are the times and games and situations where fans are allowed to gloat and really go OTT with the gloating, because this is big of Man United, mighty Man United. And when they get smashed to smithereens, actually not smashed, I've got a different way of looking at it, but I'm interested to hear your take on it and the rest of the brothers' take as we introduce the Iron Brew Kid himself, a bit rusty with the signing on and signing in, but he's here, all well and good. I want to take your take on events at Old Trafford very sort of briefly before we get into it.
I think it was, first of all, you're completely right. There's many of us here who didn't get the opportunity to enjoy the glory years of the 80s and may have just been born just as the 90s came into effect. So all we've ever had to put up with is Man United winning title after title. It becomes PTSD after a while. Do you know what I mean? So when you get results like this, like you're messaging that Man United fan that you knew in like year 5 back in the day. Like you ain't spoken in 30 years. But you're hollering at him right now saying, United, you man got battered. Every Man United fan in your contact list is getting it. Do you know what I mean? And that's exactly how you feel, and you're allowed to feel when you do a result like that. In terms of like a quick synopsis of how I thought it went down, I just thought it was like a ninja. It was sharp. It was, you know what I mean? It was back of the throat. You know what I mean? It wasn't straight up explosions. It wasn't a nuking. It was ninja style. You know what I mean? United thought, they walked into the room and they looked around and they thought, oh, okay, this looks nice. You know, I can see a picture of Sir Alex Ferguson there. I can see all our titles there. And then bam, it was 1-0 before you know it. And when you look back at the goals, every single one of them was like that. They thought they were in a good position and then bam, it was gone. So it was a ninja style assassination is how I'd best describe that performance yesterday.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I'm sure everyone else has got their own takes on it. So I've still got a different take on it. I'm hoping by the time it comes round to me again, no one's going to describe it how I've described it. Otherwise, it won't be fun. Mohammed, how would you describe yesterday's events at Old Trafford? What kind of, because obviously in games gone past, in seasons gone past, we've had the best team and best squad for the best part of a decade, I'd say. But we've often come up unstuck in terms of playing the occasion or nervousness. But how did you sort of sum up the events of yesterday?
Yeah, spot on. And before the game, a stat came out whereby we haven't won at Old Trafford since we smashed them 5-0 in 2021.
7-0.
And I for some 5-0 when Salah scored the hat trick at Old Trafford.
Oh,
I mean, just at Old Trafford. Yeah, at Old Trafford. And I was kind of surprised by that because every time I've seen Liverpool play against Man United at Old Trafford, we always seem to batter them. But you're right, it's the expectation, it's the time, the dates. It's just the whole performance then just gets a little bit on top of us. But oh my God, honestly, Grizz, I'm completely buzzing. I'm still buzzing now. I've been smiling ear to ear all day. And to quote Meek Mill and Dream Chasers, I've just got a little quick bar that I just want to spit. I used to play for times like this, for United to be crap like this. So I'm going to flex like this and shine like this because the mighty Reds are on top. We're on fire. These man can't touch us. Listen, all summer, all we've been hearing and all the group chats that I've been in, talking about, Liverpool ain't signing nobody, FSG this, FSG. Oh, by the way, these are all United fans. And the one message that I kept on quoting to them was, don't worry about us in the transfer market. Worry about the slot machine that's coming to Old Trafford. That's what you've got to be concerned about. That performance was absolutely sensational. The first 15, 20 minutes, I can't lie, I was a bit nervous. I thought United had good possession. They were attacking us a lot. They were pressing pretty well. But then things just seemed to switch after like 15, 20 minutes. And I was just so calm. And I knew a goal was going to come at any given moment. The goal that was disallowed for Trent. Bro,
we're going to get into it.
Okay, if you want to go into more details for the goals, that's fine. Not a problem. But that goal specifically, it was coming. It was just a matter of time. That was going to come. The build up to it, everything was fantastic. When it was disallowed, sometimes you can be like, oh, this could be like their spark. This is where they're going to attack us and they're going to score a goal and things can go bad for us. I didn't feel like that at one point. I knew we were going to score again. Honestly, I've been buzzing. I've been smiling all day. Slot ball is it. Gravenberch is the guy. I just, I don't know how much detail you want me to get into because I could
Stop.
talk forever on this, honestly.
Stop. You've given a
I
whole.
feel like a little Meek Mill bar, by the way. I just thought about that right now.
No, it was wicked. It was wicked. Right. So people are saying your sound is a bit hit and miss. People are saying it's like he's underwater. So I don't know what it is. Maybe try that. So let's get that. Let's say something now.
Oh.
Say something again.
Do I sound a bit better now? Hopefully the
you're
comments-
perfect. You're perfect now. Yeah, you're perfect.
That ruined my Meek Mill bar, by the way, because I'll be gutted if it did.
Oh, that's true. That's true. You might get a chance to say it again. But Conroy, how you doing? Good to be back, first and foremost.
Yeah, good guys. Doing good. Sorry about that. I had an issue earlier trying to get into my account. It was quite strange. It was like saying, if you forgot the password, but not giving you the option to reset it. So I'll have to look at it after. So I had to end up going through Facebook, and I've not been on Facebook for about 3 months. So that was a bit awkward. So apologies for being late, guys. But yeah, no, buzzing with yesterday. I know we're going to break it down. I'll not go do too much analysis now, but I think it was we've speaking about it, especially Keith and Evan and yourself, Chris. We always talk about how we've went to Old Trafford with the best team, been in great form, and we really always flatter to deceive. It's maybe, we underperform. We never really put them to the sword. And that is what I was most happy about. I think it's a great start for Arne Slot. First 2 games was excellent. And I think when you break them down, it really was, there was some interesting caveats to both those games. But this was the one. And yeah, I think it worked out very well, because see if, I know we're going to get into it, but see if it was like, a really close game, last minute winner. We love that as a fan. Absolutely. But this to me is more satisfying, because it's like, there's obviously different factors to both teams when you compare Man United and Liverpool, but the fact that he already seems so comfortable, and I know we're going to get into it, but even after the game, speaking a little bit tactically, how he kind of assessed within the first minutes of how Man United were playing. It's not to be too tactical, but I do love that. I find it very interesting. I feel like he is a student of the game, and I don't know if you guys feel the same. Even when it comes to set pieces, we tried one in that game. It went horribly wrong. But as we said last week, I find that very interesting, because he is looking at every team and looking at the weaknesses. So yeah, I think it's a absolutely brilliant start. I'm not going to jump fully on the Slot bandwagon, but he really is proving a lot of his doubters wrong in the first couple of games.
Talking about tacticals and sort of the tactical side of the game, and you prefer it. Hello, Evan. As I said, we already welcomed you back, but basically, I want to get your overall thoughts, brief thoughts, before we get into the incidents and the goals and the players and the talking points. Just how did you feel through the game, and by the end of it?
Well, I touched on just in the beginning that the style of play feels like you're hanging out in the hot tub at times, whereas the Klopp's brand of play, and I'm not talking it down at all. That style of play took us to the summit of football, but this style of play, me and my dad joke around. My dad now, for the first time, feels comfortable sitting down when watching the match, whereas like just for so many years under Klopp, that style of play and the title races we found ourselves in, he just couldn't sit down. The nerve, he had to pace. He was pacing back and forth the living room watching the game. I'm sure plenty can relate to that. My dad even felt comfortable having a cup of coffee during the game. And sitting down, that thought was unthinkable during the Klopp era. And maybe that's just because we were so good, the stakes were that high, and City were so good, and we were constantly pushing the standard further and further. And maybe it's just a combination of this new style of play, or maybe the pressure's off because we're acknowledging that no matter what, we're somewhat in a transition period, no matter which way you look at it. So I'm enjoying this little like microclimate of being a Liverpool fan, where we're enjoying something new. Most people's expectations are not sky high like they used to be. We're not entirely sure how good we are, and there is some enjoyment in that. And even though this is, you know, away to Man United, that's still a huge game that gets the blood pumping. No, in no way does it get the blood pumping quite like it used to. And that might sound like I'm describing it negative, but it's actually kind of a positive. And I think that extends to the players as well, because you've already highlighted we've been guilty of the last few years of playing the occasion. And I didn't see a single player playing the occasion yesterday.
Do you know what I described it, guys? I described it as a surgical procedure. That's how I looked at it yesterday. It
Yeah.
was very precise surgical procedure. We didn't, as Keith says, we didn't blast them out of the water. We didn't pass them to death, really, as such. It was just surgical. And everything was precise. Everything we've done was precise. We've gone to Old Trafford and created double the amount of chances last season, for example, in all both games. I think we created double the chances. But what I wanted and what we've been professed or been told that we're going to get from Slot is a more efficiency, more control, and I think that's the key word, Keith. But the game, let's get into the game. Keith, the game didn't start off like that, did it? It was a strange opening. Man United had more of the possession without testing Alisson. There was no threat from them. They weren't pressing us, and we weren't pressing them either. What did you make of the opening 15, 20 minutes? A bit cagey. Was there any reason for that? The lineup was... we don't even need to go into the lineup. The lineup picks itself, right?
Really? Yeah, absolutely. I think it was a bit sloppy. I think whenever we got on the ball in the first kind of 15, 20 minutes, we didn't really keep it. The touches were a bit haywire here. We tried a few things, didn't quite come off. But I definitely think there was an element of a hangover of last season. I think the magnitude of those two results at Old Trafford last season were pretty significant. And the way in which it happened was significant. So while the manager may not have been the same, the players definitely were the same by and large. And I think we had that hangover and that trepidation going into the start, because the problem is that we've always had, particularly this era of Liverpool, particularly the past 5 or so years, is how quickly when we lose the ball, how quickly all of a sudden United just seem to kind of score or counter-attack us. I mean, it's probably happened more times than I can count, even under Jurgen Klopp. Game might not be going anywhere. We attack, they get the ball back, counter-attack us, and then there we go. So I felt it was a bit of a feeling out period. One of the things that I thought was really interesting, even in the start though, is, and what's been interesting about this new Arne Slot team is we're not in a rush to always get the ball back. You know, I felt like sometimes we overcompensate for the counter press, and a lot of players spoke about it, how Klopp wanted the team to win the ball back as high up the pitch as possible to start their attacks from that part of the position. And I think because we didn't start out in such a rush, the first 15, 20 minutes meant that there wasn't as much danger as maybe they usually would have been when we do start in a bit of a rush. So that's what helped, I suppose, us ease our way into it. And for me, when we talk about control, and I'd love to talk about this in more depth throughout this show, a lot of people talking about control with the ball. I have noticed a significant change in control outside of possession, and particularly in the way that we press the opposition. And I think we saw a lot of that today that worked out in our favor. I mean, we didn't overcommit in scenarios. We didn't we didn't miss a few presses and all of a sudden find ourselves too far up. And I think that helped a lot in making the game start the way it did. So trepidation in one stage, but at the same time, not an overcommitment to the point where United were making big chances.
Yeah, like Kieran says, he says the defensive discipline is unreal at the moment. And Mohamed, as I said, even though they had possession and just that one incident where I think Rashford gets to the byline, I thought the ball went out. But that was it. Apart from that, it was just sort of possession for the sake of it. It was almost like we're a new boxer and we're just testing them out. And we realized they can't really hurt us. After 15, 20 minutes, I felt the most comfortablest I've ever felt at going to Old Trafford. And obviously, you touched upon it. in your excitement when you described the whole game when I asked you for just a general general rundown. But it's happened. It's debut. It happens. But listen, that Trent goal, that move. I guess we might as well get into it. I think Ryan Gravenberch is the instigator of that move, isn't he? I think it starts with a Virgil van Dijk incisive pass into Ryan Gravenberch. Ryan Gravenberch, Mohammed, wasn't the deepest lying player in this game. He was a kind of a box-to-box midfielder at times. Is that how you saw it as well? Because he starts that move, and he was probably the standout player in that opening half as well.
Yeah, it was an excellent pass as well from Virgil, the way he just cut the lines. It was superb. But then the touch and the turn from Gravenberch was equally as impressive. You're right. I felt like he was more box to box. At points we were seeing him on the right hand side. At points we were seeing him on the left hand side. He was literally all over the place in the first half in a very measured way.
Yeah.
In a very measured way. I think McAllister also had a very important role to play in that game as well. I think he was a lot more measured defensively in that double pivot to allow Gravenberch to, open his legs and attack the space, because as we've seen in past when we played against Manchester United, there always is a lot of space in that midfield that we should be able to attack. And I think Gravenberch did utilize that a lot. The first goal was brilliant. The pass from Virgil, as I've just stated, was incredible. And then it was the touch and the turn. I think he beat Mainu and just left them for dead, ran into space, and then passed it into Diaz.
He's got that ability, hasn't he, to get away from a player in a matter of strides. He's got that, he's got that ability, hasn't he? Like to get it in his, as you said, like it was one touch and get out of his stride, and then he moves away. But the key was the timing of the pass to Luis Diaz as well, wasn't it? Which was immaculate.
Yeah, the pass was immaculate. You're right as well. He's got really long legs, so like he can cover distance very quickly. And the pass to Diaz was fantastic, and he had a role to play in the second goal as well. Towards Salah, he was dominating in that first half. I think, as you just asked, Keith, the first 15-20 minutes of the game, it's kind of as expected. You're playing against Manchester United at Old Trafford. It's a big occasion. Obviously, there's 75,000 fans in the stadium. They're going to try and get behind their team. It's going to be very loud. It's going to be a bit hostile as well. But after that, I feel like when we got our control, and I think that goal, the Trent disallowed goal, was pretty early on, maybe like 5-6 minutes in. I'm not too sure. It was quite early on.
No, it was about 15 minutes in, wasn't it? 10, 15 minutes in, I think.
I can't really remember. I think it was quite early though, but I think from that point on, everything was just different. Everything just changed for us from that point on. I feel like, as I said before I went into a level 2, it was 8 minutes in.
You are right. Sorry.
It was very early on. I think that calmed us down a lot more and showed us these are here for the taking.
Yeah.
And I think from that point onwards, it was just a matter of time. The composure that we had for the rest of the goals as well. I don't want to get into it like I did before, but they were fantastic too.
Conroy, he's right. Mohammed's right. Basically, I don't know how you felt at the time, because I know you're a nervous watcher as well in seasons gone by. And we've got every reason to be nervous watchers, especially in fixtures like this, for the reasons that we've discussed so many times. I can't explain to you, Conroy. It was a total surreal feeling. And I'm so sure it emanates from the coach, from the manager. Like everything about his demeanor has been calm and relaxing and sort of business-like, as opposed to getting caught up in the emotions of it and everything. And from that Trent disallowed goal, even though we were like, oh damn, that little touch from Mo, otherwise it would have been a tap in anyway for Trent. Damn, it was offside, no problem. But like Mohammed says, for me, it was a matter of time. I was so comfortable, and it didn't seem real. Why was I so comfortable? Did you feel the same comfort, or at this stage was you like still a bit nervous?
Do you know what I think? Because of what happened last season, especially in the FA Cup game or the 2-2 draw, I felt like that might have been the most chances we've created at Old Trafford ever, and we still couldn't put them away. So I've got to be honest, Chris, a little bit of apprehension, not as much from anything the coach was doing, just because, as you mentioned at the start, psychologically in the player's head. But see, like a player like Gravenberch, for example, he just, to me, is what's the word when what would you say? Oud, is that the right word, or not aura? But if you've just got, what was that, Keith?
Oozes class.
Oozes. To me,
Oozes.
Gravenberch, he oozed, I wouldn't say class, I would say freshness of someone who wasn't involved in those games. He just felt very, very confident and very like that he believed in himself. Let's be honest, Gravenberch has definitely got the ability. The biggest questions people have, is he going to fulfill that potential? Is he going to actually improve his football IQ, make correct decisions? So I think that from the way he started the game, it did fill me with confidence. And then as the game went on, I have to be honest, I'm always a bit apprehensive when you get a disallowed goal. Sometimes it can do the opposite.
Oh, you think to yourself, oh, here we go, yeah.
But you know what, Chris, you're absolutely right. That team didn't look like, didn't feel sorry for themselves. They just felt on to the next one. And maybe that's coming from the coach as well. Like, forget that. We're going to keep going and we're going to break them down. I feel like there is a lot about his calmness that I'm really liking. I know when we score, he celebrates. I know he celebrates when we score, right? Let's be honest. Most coaches are going to do that. But I do think he's very just composed, calculated, stick to the plan. And I think, as we mentioned, because he's constantly analysing the other team and what his team are doing, I don't know. I find it very fascinating, to be perfectly honest. And even that interview, I know I mentioned it earlier, it's kind of like refreshed the interest of football and that side of things for me, because when you actually have your team with a manager who's constantly looking at everything on that pitch, looking at small weaknesses, I think it's brilliant. But I'll be honest with you, I was still 50-50, because after that, when I saw Amad Diallo come on in second half, I just had flashbacks of that last season. So I'm not going to say that I was, absolutely certain, but there does seem to be a calmness throughout that team, that they felt that if we play our way, we'll beat this team. We're better than them. That's maybe the best way to put it.
Evan, I think you get the first goal then in that case, because very soon after we carry on this momentum, we carry on this winning the ball in midfield, pinching it. It wasn't so much, I don't know how I'll let you describe it, but there was something that I spotted, not when I was doing the watch along. And if you guys didn't watch the watch along on the Big Six, what are you guys doing? But I didn't spot it the first time round, Ev. I spotted it this morning, or last night actually, when I watched it on replay again. And Conroy mentioned about Gravenberch and footballing IQ and everything. For me, one of the most high IQ footballers in the club is Diogo Jota. And I noticed something, and I don't know if you guys, I'm not as eagle-eyed as you and some others, but even I noticed that in that build-up to the first goal, where Gravenberch wins it first again, is it? He's almost dictating the move. He almost sort of notifies everyone that, listen, there's a possible overload on the back post. So go and make your runs at the far post. Diaz and Szoboszlai capitalize on that far post. He takes up the run that he needs to do in the near post. And then the pass was so good, I thought it was Trent, but it turns out it was Mohamed Salah. Your version of events for that goal, my friend.
I really like that you highlighted Jota's sort of box IQ, because I mean,
he didn't touch the ball, yet he was probably one of the most vital members of that goal.
Is there anything more frustrating than your team working the ball really well into the box, and then the spacing just gets all messed up? You got two guys going to the near post, crowding each other. You got one guy who doesn't make a run that he should. That's a frustrating way to, convert chances. And, up until that point, we hadn't been sharp enough in the final third. I remember thinking, if we were just 5% sharper with our final third decision making today, it'd be a bloodbath. And Jota, to his credit, I think just all things considered, he is the best 18-yard box player in the squad, both in terms of just movement and chance conversion and the types of finishes he has in his locker. So yeah, doesn't touch the ball in that sequence, but still a very important part of it. It's Joseph's highlighting there. Yeah, he takes players out of the game. That is something that we would applaud Darwin Núñez for last season. Even when he wouldn't get on the score sheet, Darwin Núñez would occupy the attention of the opposition back line. We talked briefly, and y'all mentioned, Gravenberch and what he was able to do in the midfield so far this season. Something I didn't notice in real time just because it happened very quickly. But he does make the interception and he does pick off Casemiro's pass. Casemiro, I think, is looking for Rashford far out on the left wing. I think he's trying to lift it, but the technical execution is just wrong, and he sort of just zips it on the ground. When I watched back the game last night, you can see Gravenberch, it's not like he's just a statue and Casemiro just passes it right to him. He cheats over. He's reading Casemiro's eyes and his body language and his hips, and he cheats over to make the interception. So although, like I said, the technical aspect of the pass was horrid, it's definitely not what Casemiro was trying to do. You still have to, read sort of what's going to happen preemptively. It's very similar to sort of like the NFL, American football. These defensive backs can only get interceptions on the quarterback if they start cheating over to the side they think the ball is going to be thrown. So it was kind of similar in that way. I thought Ryan could have picked out Diaz earlier. Diaz is probably even more open before Ryan gives the ball to Salah, but maybe the angles weren't right, because if you look back, you can see Ryan knows that Jota is open. Or sorry, not Jota. Ryan knows that Diaz is open, but I think he knows that I could create a better chance with a more difficult pass, or we could create a maybe slightly less straightforward chance, but the pass will be easier if I just give it to Mo. And in the end, it does end up being sort of a tap in with the header. Szoboszlai almost gets in the way, but good communication, because he clearly ducks out at the end. And it's the Luis Diaz special. I mean, it's the instinctive first time finish that we have lauded him for in the past. And it was just an example of making two really simple decisions in the final third, and United are a mess, and the space was there. You can see when Casemiro gives the ball away, Mazraoui's on the halfway line. Their right back is one of their furthest forward players. So it just seems like United don't know what sort of pace they want to play at. Like some players will be in a certain gear and other players will be in another gear. It seems like they don't trust each other, or they don't know the plan. We'll get into it more because I have some thoughts on the current state of Manchester United, but it's just a case of us exposing just them horribly. You make two simple decisions in a row, ball's going to end up in the back of the net. No need to overcomplicate it.
I'm going to go through the super chats at the end, but there's one that's relevant now, Keith, before I come to you. Yo, what's good? Of course, a very regular contributor to the channel. Big up, yo, what's good? He says, I think Slot sees Mac as some who can play 6 like Klopp did. He dropped Mac deeper versus Brentford in the last 15 minutes. The way Slot baited Casemiro in the first phase and Mino on his blind side was brilliant. Time and time again, Keith, this was happening, wasn't it? And we've discussed the first goal. Again, I want you to maybe, because obviously you've been fresh on this Mohamed Salah chat and it's in your mind. There's so many individuals that we're going to speak upon. But Mohamed Salah in this fresh haircut, fresh role, old role, he just looks almost like back to his original dashing, flying winger days, but yet he's bringing so much more than just being an out-and-out winger, right? He's bringing intelligence, movement, assists, and as I said, I thought generally, guys, I thought that was Trent, like chipped it to the far post beautifully, and I was like, oh, Trent special, and they were like, no, that was Mo, and I was like, even more special, you know what I mean? Because Mo on his right foot, this guy's playing some sublime football right now.
When he went to Turkey and he got that hair transplant, clearly they gave him the hair follicles of Samson himself, because the rebirth is just nothing short of incredible. The power that man has got since he had that hair transplant has nothing been short of sensational. So big up Turkey, big up whoever put those hair follicles in. Sometimes, as a man with great hair myself, the hair's the most important thing. It's part of your, it's part of your ego. It's a part of your look. And, maybe Mo Salah goes onto that pitch now feeling himself. So that's what I'm going to put it down to. No, but in all honesty, what I've loved the most is that he had the break, right? There was a big discussion about Manchester City's Erling Haaland and how fresh he looks. He's 2 hat-tricks back-to-back. He looks fresher than most of the other players. And I think Mohamed Salah is also benefiting from the fact that he's had a proper 3-4 weeks off. He's had freshness in his legs. And, you know, he has taken it upon himself to be a locker room leader within that club. And I think he enjoys the fact that he's elevated to that status of leadership. I think he took that on board during the pre-season as being one of the elder statesmen within the club. And I think he now knows the importance of what he brings, not just to Liverpool on the pitch, but what he brings to Liverpool off the pitch, which is why I'm such a big advocate of him being, for me, one of the best players that Liverpool have ever had in my generation. And the other thing that's been so amazing to see with Mohamed Salah over the years is, you know, we picked up a player who became like a lethal goal scorer, right? Equaled the record of the most goals scored in a single season before Haaland beat it, right? But the movement from a goal scorer into creator has been something that he does not get enough credit for, and we don't talk
100%.
about it enough. The playmaking skills, the decisions on his passes, the way he plays that chip ball into the back post. You know, I'm sure we'll speak at length about the second goal, because even that pass as well was just unbelievable. He's got that in his locker. He's just as intelligent in scoring goals as he is in creating goals for other players. The press have tried to, in the past, label him as greedy, as selfish, as it's all about him. He's never admitted that energy to suggest that. And now the best compliment you can give Salah is you don't hear that talk anymore. He's completely silenced the doubters. You don't hear Graham Souness or anybody else talk about how selfish he is. We haven't heard that for the last couple of years. And yet he got used to get that pressure. So I could wax lyrical about him all day long, but the best compliment I can give Mohamed Salah is that when Liverpool were at our best, he was the best. And we have restructured our attacking team, our front line. We've restructured our midfield. We've even got a new manager, and Mohamed Salah is still the best.
He's always been that playmaker. Like even when he was younger and he was a more traditional winger, he still was creating chances. But what I've noticed in the last 2 years is he's learned those right wing passing angles so well. And he's learned how to weight his passes in a different way. He's creating chances from deeper areas, whereas before, maybe, you know, like 2017 to 2021, he's more like taking on his man and creating chances that way for others. This time, it's Mohamed Salah puts his studs on the ball, waits for the runs to happen, and he's finding guys. And he doesn't get credit for it, Keith. He does not get credit for it. We are watching the greatest wide goal scorer and the greatest wide playmaker in Premier League history. Simple as.
And it takes humility to do that, right? Because you know you're maybe that level of being able to take his man one-on-one, maybe that has diminished to a certain extent. We probably, you know, if you pull up
100% has, Keith. Come on, he was running into blind alleys at times, and it is like, he's just not as nippy. And I think he's probably the last 2 years, as Evan said, that can't be a coincidence. He definitely has, because if you go into a corner and you've not got that turn of pace to beat that person, and then there's certain players shutting you out, they know your weaknesses. As Evan said, that other side of his game has improved so much, because I think he's had to learn to evolve. But the best players do that. Like, if the best players don't stay at the same playing style when they're 18 till they're 35, or they don't last, they don't keep it at the top of the game. So I think I would definitely say he definitely has lost a bit of that sharpness, but that doesn't mean, like that blistering pace, but that doesn't mean you can't still be excellent. And also, it doesn't mean as well that because they think he's going to come inside now, that he can't then go out wide like the Gravenberch goal and then use his right foot first time, which probably isn't. He has done it, but it's not always his first thought. It just shows that defenders can't read him as well now. He's got so much. Yeah. What's the phrase we say? Arrow on the bow. What do we say? Bow. What is the phrase? Yeah, that's
strings to his bow. I think he's got a lot of tools now. He wasn't one-dimensional before, but he's multi-dimensional now. He obviously, no one's going to sit here and tell you he's as quick as he was in 2018, because that's just objectively not true. But it's made the moments he chooses to take players on, it's made them more effective because maybe, you know, instead of a player expecting, okay, Mohamed Salah is going to dribble at me now, a defender might be thinking, what run am I not tracking in my blind spot? Like, where's Soboslai? Where's Nunez? Where's
Bang
Jota?
on. Spot on.
So and you see that. I noticed it against it was either Brentford or Ipswich, I forget. One of the first games of the season, he took a man to the byline with relative ease. You know, just classic Salah, just knocked it past him, just breezed past him immediately. And if you notice that the second before Hughes did that, the defender's looking behind him because Salah's just been pinging those passes all game into the box. And so it's made him less predictable. It's made him more important to the system somehow. It's awfully impressive. And the guy who I think is going to be the biggest beneficiary of this season is, I think, Soboslai, because he's going to do those underlapping runs. And as we all know, he has every physical gift you could ask for. So, and I asked on Twitter after Brentford, genuine question, and I'll ask y'all because I want to know, how as a team do you defend constant underlapping runs, whether it's from Connor Bradley and Trent or Soboslai or whoever's playing in that advanced midfield role? How do you defend consistently against underlapping runs without exposing yourself
Well,
elsewhere?
I tell you why. I tell you why that's a very good question, because that's exactly the player I wanted to choose. It's almost like we've never been away. You know, our segues used to be classic. The classic segues are back.
Telepathy, Grizz.
Telepathy,
I think,
telepathy,
Yeah.
telepathy. New season, same old REDFELLAS. The telepathy,
Telepathic
powers,
connection.
our connections are still there. And I tell you what they remind me of, guys. And I've got no shame because they're the best team in the Premier League and they've proven to be in the last decade or so. Man City, and the way they manufacture goals was exactly how I'm seeing Liverpool trying to create chances as well. And we know that Slot's a student of Pep more than sort of the Klopp. And I want to, and you guys have mentioned, sorry, I had to take a couple of phone calls there, but Mohamed, Dominic Szoboszlai is the next person I want to speak upon in this new role. I don't know, I'll let everyone have the floor to describe what this role is. Is it a 10? Because it's not a playmaking 10, it's an aggressive press over 10. He's there to just not let them out. And when we're on the ball, he's there to make these underlapping runs, forward runs, third man runs, call them whatever you want. Dominic Szoboszlai.
Before I get into Dominic Szoboszlai, I was going to come in about Salah. Like before, towards the end of last season, he had a lot of criticism from a lot of Liverpool fans, and me included as well. I felt like he lost a lot of pace. I thought he wasn't the same player that we've seen over previous years. The lads have already mentioned that he's evolved from the Mohamed Salah that we've seen from 2018, 2019. But I think he had to, when Firmino and Mane, etc., had to leave. He had to take a lot more responsibility in that attacking role. Over the summer, I think he took all that criticism personally, and he's come back a completely different beast. Like right now, what we're seeing is insane. Keith, you had a discussion earlier on TalkSport whether Gerrard or Salah is the best or the biggest Liverpool legend, and Evans just said that he's the best Premier League attacker. In my opinion, I think Mohamed Salah is the greatest Premier League player ever. It's as simple as that. I know a lot of people will be shocked about it, but the way he's evolved, the way he's constantly breaking stats, literally after every single game, we see a tweet, we see a stat that says only Mohamed Salah or Mohamed Salah has done this, and it's just something new. He scored 15 goals at Old Trafford, which is insane. Since 2021, I think he's the 4th top goal scorer at Old Trafford, which is insane. He is the best player to ever play in the Premier League in my eyes. It's as simple as that. And he is incredible. And I hope and pray that he gets this contract signed, because there's still a lot more years of Mohamed Salah at this top high elite level that we're going to get to see. Bit of a bombshell, but that's just like my huge opinion. In terms of Szoboszlai, I thought Szoboszlai, yeah, he was amazing yesterday. The press, we know that he's got that in him. We've seen it last season. And I think we also need to reflect on last season as well, because although last season we did falter away towards the end of the season, we were in a title charge. We do know we've got a very good team. We know the qualities that Dominic Szoboszlai possesses. I think the first 6 months of last season, we've seen a very high level of Dominic Szoboszlai. And I think we've seen pretty similar, the qualities that we've seen last season to this season, although in a slightly different role. He is a lot more advanced, but he's not your typical number 10 like a Mesut Ozil or like a David Silva. He's more of a pressing machine, but with a lot of quality. I think when we are defending, he does defend with Jota in like a 2. And the press between them two is fantastic. And I think it's amazing.
It's insane.
It's
Between
insane.
them and Jota, like in terms of reading, cutting out passing lanes, I would hate to be trying to be a team right now, trying to build up against us. You're right. Because then you got Diaz as well on the other side.
Yeah. And then you got Diaz and Salah who are high and wide. And then you got Mac and Gravenberch who are pushing up as well. So it's just the whole system is just, it's perfect for Szoboszlai specifically, because we know that he's got that engine. We know that he's got that tenacity. A lot of these players do, because we've seen him on multiple occasions over last season. One frustrating part about Szoboszlai yesterday was that chance. Like, just bury it. Just bury it, because that's the only thing that's missing from Szoboszlai at the moment. We know that he's got a lethal shot on him. We know that he can score goals. We just need to see him get these goals. And in this more advanced position that we will be seeing him in, I'm sure that he will get a lot more goals for us. He's already got 2 assists this season, which is great. I think he only got like 5 assists last season. So already he's adding to that tally. It was frustrating yesterday. I think he was just kind of taking the piss a little. He could have just shot. But I think at that point we was 2-0 up, or it was 2-0 up.
3-0 up. I think.
Yeah, but thankfully it was 3-0 up. But if that wasn't a chance that, say that happened, that like it was 0-0 or 1-0 or 2-0, I'll be fuming. Like, that is just such a huge chance. You don't do that at Old Trafford. Let's not forget, United had huge chances yesterday. When we was 1-0 up, Mazraoui had a shot at goal. Alisson made a fantastic save when it went through Virgil's legs. That could have easily just touched one of Virgil's legs and ricocheted and went straight into the back of the net. Zirkzee on another day could have grabbed himself 2 goals as well. So these kind of games at Old Trafford, we've seen it last season. If you don't take your chances, anything can happen. Thankfully, nothing happened. But I hope that's a learning curve for him from yesterday and he can improve. But in terms of his overall performance and the way he played, the way he pressed, the way he linked up with his passing ability, I thought he was just a lover, standout, shining star in that midfield.
Conray, looks like I'm a very popular man today. Another phone call. But Luis Diaz, we've spoken about his output. We've spoken about his goals. Another goal, beautifully caressed finish. Another Mohamed Salah assist.
Yeah, it was superb. I have to say, Keith, I know you were saying the pass. It's a good pass, right? But the pass is wonderful. The pass is made to look wonderful because of the finish. Because it's not as if it's laid on a plate. The finish is the best part about this goal. So not to be controversial, but the finish is outstanding. I feel like that double from Diaz, one of the not biggest criticism I'd say in the last year, because I think he has definitely got more central, and we'd all agree. If you even look at his goals last year, he's tried to replicate what Mane done in the sense of get those goals to be more in the box and not always have wide play. But that double yesterday, in my opinion, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but it did remind me of Mane, like a header like that, which he has. He can do a header. He's scored quite a lot in the past, scored a lot for Porto and for us. But then that finish as well, to swing his body like that, to hit it first time, to catch Onana out at his low near post. It's an excellent finish, and it really was. I'll be honest with everyone here. The reason I think this is such a good goal is I didn't expect it from that angle. Like, yeah, the pass is good, but you're usually expecting a player to take a touch, maybe hit it on the swivel on the second touch, or then, drag it forward and hit it across goal. It's an excellent finish, and it really is a game-changing moment, because I can't remember, guys. Do you remember the time? Is it about the 40th minute?
Yeah,
something
it
like
was just
that.
Before half time.
Yeah, so even got to give credit to Gary Neville, and we don't do that very often, but he did say in his commentary about 5 minutes before, he says, if you're at Old Trafford at this time, or if you're at Anfield and this happens, it's like when they're feeling the fans are getting a bit of a lull, that's when you want to go for the second. And it absolutely worked like he said it would. It's an excellent finish. Mane-esque, as I'd said previously. And it's quite a big moment for Diaz. I would say he started the season so strong, but then in a big fixture to do that, to equivalently win the game for us in that moment, maybe that's a bit too jumping the gun considering what happened last year. But it is he's put our full team at ease with that excellent finish, and it really has knocked the stuffing out of Manchester United. And I think was a lot of debate in the summer. I think the way he's started the season, he's going to kick on. I think this will be his best season for Liverpool. It looks, whatever's happened in the summer with the new manager conversations, it looks like right now he's taking on instructions. He's got that bit between his teeth, and I think his numbers are going to be the highest he's had. I think his movement is definitely improved in the last year, goal scoring wise, to come central when the ball goes wide. He's definitely done that, but I think he looks like right now he's just absolutely banging form. So it's very good news for us because we keep talking about Szoboszlai as well, who should score, but he looks in good form. Diaz looks in good form. We're not even mentioning Jota, who he's football IQ earlier. We're not even talking about Gakpo, Nunes on the bench, Harvey Elliott, who had an excellent summer. So right now, it's a very, very good time to be a Liverpool fan. And Diaz, fair play. I think was it Meek Mill you referenced earlier. I think Diaz took the Michael Jordan. I took that personally in the summer as well.
Could I just quickly come in on Diaz as well? I think Slot deserves a lot of credit for Diaz. I've noticed over the last couple of games, and I don't know whether you guys have noticed as well, him and Jota seem to interchange from the striker and the left wing position quite a bit. And that's where that second goal comes from. Diaz is central and Jota is coming from the left. And that's when he tracks back and takes that ball off Casemiro. And that's where the goal comes from, I think, in Slot. And I find him so interesting. Like literally anytime there's an interview of Slot, I'm just there and I just want to listen to him talk. The way he talks is so analytical and is so like everything. He's so clear cut. And one of the things that he said during pre-season was, we've got fantastic attackers. He was talking about Nunes and he was talking about Diaz. We've got fantastic attackers and the output hasn't been that great last season. It's our job to find them in the right goal-scoring positions. And if this is one of the tactical tweaks that he's done for Luis Diaz this season in terms of drifting him in at times, maybe to like confuse the defenders as well, but like drift them inside in like that number 9 position and let Jota go out wide a little bit. I think that's amazing because last season we've seen a lot of Luis Diaz hugging the line and just going up and down a lot and not coming into central positions too often. Already from the Brentford game and from the game yesterday, we've seen certain positions, certain times where him and Jota have just interchanged and he's gone into that central position. And with his direct running and his dribbling ability, it's clutch. It's amazing. And that's exactly where the second goal comes from.
Long may it continue, Evan. I'm sure you want to chime in on Luis Diaz chat. There's no way you don't want to have a little say on the Luis Diaz situation. Look, scrutiny, eyes on him, call it what you want. A lot of chat about getting a attacker ring, or Gordon was rumored, and obviously every club's fan base, when they want a new player, there has to be a scapegoat. And it seemed like the Liverpool fan base wanted that scapegoat to be Luis Diaz. Look, he stayed. I was adamant that I think he will stay and I think he will get a new contract. I think that was his major aim. It looks like going that way. Have you seen anything, like Mohammed mentions, and I was going to mention as well, is Slot changed anything in your eyes or your opinion? Or is this just guys, Luis Diaz was injured and then his dad got kidnapped. Like, he's gone through a bit of trauma for the last 12 months or so. Maybe he's like the Luis Diaz we saw pre-injury and pre-father being kidnapped, where he was probably our best attacker. I don't know if you guys remember. He started off brilliantly that season until Partey finished him. Maybe he's always been this player. We're just letting him flourish and he's at his maturity and he's comfortable around the club. Or is there a tactical tweak here and there?
I think Diaz suffered greatly last season just in terms of what happened to us tactically. Keep in mind, we played an awful lot of football last season with Luis Diaz at left wing and Joe Gomez playing some like inverted left back, Frankenstein role. And even when, we were healthy last season, which wasn't very often, Diaz was, I thought, left out on an island on the left wing very, very often. This time, Luis Diaz seems like he has 3 times as many people to pass to. And the burden is not so much on him to absolutely skin the fullback alive and, just play hero ball. You know what I mean? He is now, like everybody else, benefiting from being a more efficient cog in what seems to be a bit of a more refreshed system. Diaz, despite the criticisms, maybe just a lack of output people didn't like. He was never going to be Sadio Mane. Nobody was ever going to be Sadio Mane. But Diaz, I think, is an incredibly admirable player. I mean, it's just one of those things, we can sit here and dissect, Luis Diaz all day long and, maybe dive into things we don't like about his game, this, that, or the other, things we do like about his game. But I mean, if you just look at the facts, the dude is a clear favorite of Klopp, and he's a clear favorite of Slot too. So it shows what we know about this sport that we sit around and talk about all the time. And everyone deserves a new lease on life, in this Slot system. And he's running hot with the goals now, and long may it continue. We have so many options up on that front line now. So the pressure's off, or maybe that has lit a fire under some people. The arrival of Chiesa, Gakpo's breathing down the neck as well. So whatever is clicking right now for Luis Diaz, like you said, Grizz, could just be another year removed from the bad injury, another year removed from some, really difficult personal experiences in his personal life. Things are just coming together for him. And I always thought that, as we toyed around with the idea of perhaps letting Luis Diaz, go this summer, or signing an upgrade in that position, I always thought that if Luis Diaz is the greatest concern you have in your front three, then you must be a pretty good
Fully
team.
loaded. You must be
because he starts for 15 of the other teams in the league, and he's starting for this team currently. So, even if we kicked him out the door, he'd be starting for 90% of the league and 95% of the teams in Europe's top 5 leagues. So it's definitely my diamond encrusted shoes are laced too tight sort of problem that we've convinced that we have with Luis Diaz. But I'm happy to have Luis Diaz here. That's always been the case. If he wanted to go somewhere else and take his family to Spain, go to a warmer climate, whatever it is, I would have been okay with that. But I have absolutely no problem with Luis Diaz staying at Liverpool as long as his heart desires. And it's clear that Slot desires to have him here as well, and that's the most important thing. Long may it continue.
Long may it continue. Keith Cross, 2-0 at half-time. I've told you I was having chicken wings by now, dipping it in burger sauce and then barbecue sauce and then mayonnaise. I, honest to God, watch the watch-along if you guys haven't, and I was so comfortable. I was comfortable at 1-0. I knew it was game over, and as I said, I've never felt that way. Now, is that down to the coach? Is that down to the calmness that he's instilled in terms of not only to the players but the fans? One of our biggest worries was, what is it going to be like after Klopp in terms of the respect and the players playing for him? And I think it's been, as you said, a breath of fresh air, man. Everything he says, like Mohammed says, you want to listen. It's almost like, do you remember when Pep Linders used to take press conferences and you want to hear him speak about football? Keep talking about football, man. Just keep talking, Arnie. Like he's a man of few words, not as much as Pep, but you stand up and listen. That second half was just for me, it was just a walk in the park, and Mohamed Salah gets his customary goal. Again, Szoboszlai winning the ball. Is it Szoboszlai winning the ball? McAllister wins the ball, absolutely bodies Mainu. McAllister we haven't even discussed because he was quietly just efficient. The McAllister that we know. Nothing glamorous, nothing out of the ordinary, but just knitting things. And it was almost like Gravenberch saying, okay, I'll let you stage this game. And this one was McAllister saying, oh, I'll let you stage this game and I'll do the nitty gritty. It was like a synchronized diving, almost like the whole team was synchronized. It was beautiful, going forward, going backwards. And Mohamed Salah scored that first time. When he does that first time finish, Keith, you know he's on the top of his game. Some are saying the keeper, who's an absolute clown, by the way, absolute clown, is his fault, but I think it was right in the corner, and there's a crisp finish, 3-0 game over. It's a matter of how much. And
I think it's shocking goalkeeping. I'm sorry.
It is.
I fall in that camp. I was roasting Onana alive. Not only is he cheating over to one side hilariously, his weight's on the wrong foot. He has no idea where he is. I I'm usually pretty nice to goalkeepers, but I struggle to wake up every day and believe that he is playing in Europe's top 5 leagues. I really do not think he's
He's a
very good
clown.
at all.
But this
I
Mohamed
think-
Salah,
Yeah.
Salah deserved a goal after his 2 assists and his new celebration. It's just like,
Yeah, I
you know,
love
it's
it.
like
As an MMA fan. As an MMA fan,
Is that the Adesanya?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is Adesanya.
yeah.
After he beat Pereira,
Yeah.
I've knocked him out actually.
That's his entrance.
Yeah,
With his
bam.
entrance.
It was nice for him to confirm that is exactly what he does. And as my wife is a professional MMA fighter and of Middle Eastern descent, hopefully, Lisa, one day Mohamed Salah can be a fan of your performances,
amazing.
because he's an MMA fan. So I've told Lisa now she's got to win her next 10 fights in a row so we can finally meet Mohamed Salah in person.
Definitely.
But you know, at the start of it, when I was saying in terms of I felt it was a bit of a ninja performance, it was this goal kind of epitomizes it, you know. About build up a game about shooting early. Yeah, I mean that says it all. I
Do you
think
think it was a training ground because they've been practicing a lot of these first time shots? I've been noticing in inside training videos as well.
I think so. I think also it's just the way that they, again, going back to the way that we press, you know, it seems to be a lot more calculated. And I feel like we just kept catching United off the hop, and we kind of centralized our pressing on Mainu and Casemiro. Whereas I feel in the past, again, our pressing has more been dedicated to almost pressing their centre backs to try and win the ball as high as possible. I felt like, you know, we kind of take our time, and the way our McAllister's body position, the same as Ryan Gravenberch, they're always ready. When United's midfielders picked up that ball in this game, they were always ready to either intercept the passing lanes or to press the United players when they had the ball. And I think that comes down to a couple of things. I think one of the things has been the change in training methods. Now, something tells me that these players look fitter, stronger, and faster. Maybe we're just getting ahead of ourselves, and I could be pat down. But maybe there's something about the change in the way that we're training lately, where I just feel like we're just that little bit more physical. Dominic Szoboszlai was a part of the goal against Brentford, right? And the way that he held off the midfielder with his body, and he forced to win that ball. McAllister, again, completely gazumps Mainu. And Mainu, many times, usually gets past that, right? He's a very good dribbler of the ball. But physically, the way that we're going into those presses, it just seems like we're just 1% stronger, faster, sharper. And perhaps we can put that down to the training methods, the new training methods that we've had in place recently, because that's what it looks like to me. I don't know about you guys at the moment. Maybe we'll see what happens when we start playing 2-3 games a week, whether that can continue. But that for me has been one of the key things that have made us so dangerous when we have been pressing the opposition, particularly in midfield. And you talk about McAllister and the Gravenberch combination. Last year it was McAllister, Endo. I think McAllister is just an amazing midfield partner to have next to you. You know, his intelligence on and off the ball is amazing. I think Jurgen Klopp, give him his dues and give him his props. Him and Linders were right. McAllister, sorry, I'll go back a second. Klopp and Linders and the team made a decision that McAllister was better as more of a 6.5 box-to-box style midfielder, played from deeper than he was at Brighton, where he was slightly further forward playing a number 10 position. And I think they've got that completely right. And Slot has carried that on. Where Slot was right and Klopp was probably wrong was Ryan Gravenberch. Because Ryan Gravenberch actually, in last season, I felt that he was being pushed to play more in the Szoboszlai position, which was slightly further up the pitch, slightly more as a number 8. Whereas with Ryan Gravenberch now, he's got space and time on the ball to run into, and that's where he's at his most effective. He's actually got a lot more. He can use his legs more in midfield now in this slightly deeper position than he maybe would have been able to do when he's playing further up the pitch. And Dominic Szoboszlai has got almost a free range to be playing across the line without necessarily having to think so much of slotting into defensive situations. So that slight tweak of Gravenberch's, slightly more deeper, Dominic Szoboszlai giving slightly more license room to move, and McAllister's position, which has been adjusted from last season, all of a sudden I feel like the players are playing in the positions that they should be, that their talent and their physicality allows. And then you get a scenario where you get McAllister presses, wins the ball, releases Dominic Szoboszlai. Szoboszlai plays one-touch pass and through to Salah. So I just think that these tweaks that have actually been maybe 12 to 18 months in the making in terms of McAllister, and the slight tweaks that Slot's done with Szoboszlai and Gravenberch means that they complement each other so much more and in the positions that we want them to be in. And I would say I think that was more of the what stood out for me in the goal. And then yeah, I agree with Evan and the team. I think as great as it was Salah taking that first time in bottom corner, Onana's, I don't know what the hell he was doing with his positioning, but I'm loving the dynamic so far between the three of those midfielders.
We've spoken about the attacking intent and the movement of the strikers, but that's now 3 clean sheets in a row. Let's not forget that. And pretty much, guys, if we remember, go back to last season, I think Alisson was making average 5 saves a game, with a couple of them clean one-on-one, moves. Now, I know Mohamed referenced earlier, Zerki could have scored a couple, but that was 3-0. I think our foot was off the gas by then. We were absolutely coasting. But I don't know who you want to speak on, Mohamed. Maybe out of the back 5, I'll let you choose someone that you want to speak on and praise, because Alisson apart, you can choose any one of the 4 that you want to speak about and mention, because all have been under scrutiny in their own kind of way, right? So choose one.
Honestly, I can talk about all 4 of them and praise and say how amazing they are. But I'm going to talk about Andrew Robertson, because I think he's had a lot of criticism.
Conroy won't be happy, but it's okay. We'll manage. It's okay. Conroy, calm down. He's making his debut. He's part of the team now, Conroy. He's part of the
do you want me to leave this one for Conroy?
No, we're joking. We're joking.
Your Scottish compatriots.
Yeah, we're joking.
No, honestly, like Andrew Robertson, he's come in for a lot of criticism last season, and even the first game against Ipswich, which granted he did not play that good in that Ipswich game. He was pretty poor, but I personally thought that he was lacking fitness. He didn't have a preseason. He was injured. He played against what was the team? The Spanish team, the second game, not the Sevilla. He played, I forgot what they were called now.
Las Palmas.
Las Palmas, thanks, Conroy. Yeah, that was the game. He played against Las Palmas with technically the B team. So he got thrown into the first game against Ipswich with these lads. He didn't play his best, but last week against Brentford, I thought he was absolutely solid against Mbeumo. And Mbeumo's on absolute fire right now. He has started this season on fire. The first game against Crystal Palace, he was incredible, Mbeumo. And we just seen him score 2 goals against Southampton. But Robertson didn't give him a sniff. He didn't give him any opportunity to do anything. And likewise, again, on the weekend against United, Garnacho was touted as their best attacking player, who's their biggest threat. I don't think Garnacho did anything during that game. He wasn't really that much involved until Ahmad came on. I think Ahmad, he had a little bit more involvement in the game, but I think Robertson handled that situation very, very well as well. I think in terms of Robertson, the game against Brentford, we've seen the old Robertson a little bit. The marauding left back who would just bomb on and he'll be into the box. He got that opportunity where he almost scored. I can't remember who passed it, but it was a brilliant pass, and he almost scored. He almost catched Flecken out. But yesterday against United, we didn't see that Robertson. We've seen a lot more measured Robertson, a more defensive, disciplined Robertson, who allowed maybe Trent on the other side to push up a little bit more in the midfield or on the flank, and covered with the centre backs alongside Virgil, who once again was incredible, and Kanatu, who's also insanely good. But I think Robertson, he's had a lot of criticism, and the last 2 games, I think he's impressed me so much. He's been incredible. But Grizz, you mentioned earlier, you mentioned earlier that last season we were conceding a lot of goals. Alisson was making a lot of big saves. I still feel like that's the case this season, and because he made 2 big saves against United, and he made a huge save against Brentford last week when it was 1-0 from that corner. He made a brilliant save from there as well. Still fantastic. We got 3 clean sheets. Trust me, I have not complained. I love it. Hopefully, long may it continue. But I think we need to talk about how amazing Alisson is. Honestly, I think we do appreciate him, but do we appreciate him enough? because
No,
this is
it's always goalkeepers are always like that. You just take them for granted. After a little while, we speak about Trent's passing, we just start normalizing it. You know, I agree with you, but Robertson, yep, that's a shout. Conroy, obviously Robertson would have been your shout, but who's your shout for that you want to speak about?
It has to be. I think Konate was. I know we've had some conversations about Kwanzaa and stuff, but now I think Konate's kind of got his spot back. To be honest, after that, there's a bit of. I think people forget how good Konate was when he was in form. A few bad games. This is football. We just like that. We forget about that. I think he's the guy. I think that's when it comes to physicality. I think Slot, for a person who's always analysing games, understands there is a lot of physicality, more in this league than the Netherlands as well. I think Konate is a very, very good, what is it? Not catalyst, but a quantifier of that. Because when teams try to do that, you know, long ball or be aggressive, he's so good at that, at dealing with that, especially in duels. And I think, to be honest, his passing's been pretty good since he's came back. So big shout out to Konate. I still think the future is very, very bright for that guy. And I think when his performances, he's been absolutely solid this season. So I'd say to him, he's kind of quietly, I'd say, coming in the plans for the future. And again though, as I say, Grizz, it's not 11-person game anymore. It's 15, 16 of a squad. So it doesn't mean Kwanzaa doesn't come in the Champions League games. There will be opportunity. I just think Konate's really showed, at the small sample size, fair enough, at the start of the season, how good he was. And I think I think he's reminded people of how good he actually can be and the potential he's got going forward to get to those heights. So I think he's been very, very impressive. And I think it's just to add to the clean sheets, you're bang on about, I know it's getting spoken about, but I don't think it's getting spoken about as much as it should. That was such a big problem, conceding early, as Evans probably done his head in the amount of tweets he had about conceding early last year with Liverpool or conceding the first goal. So I think Slot's also identified that as a problem as well. It's not by luck. This is 3 games now. It's not by luck that we've kept clean sheets. I get what you're saying about the Xerxes chance. I think there's only really one big chance in that game for Xerxes. It's the header that's right at Alisson. I'd say the rest one is any top keeper should make that save. Unfortunately, there's not many top keepers in the Premier League. This causes a bit of confusion with football fans because, as Evan said, no one in the top league should be like having that type of movement. And Alisson is clearly the best in the league. Anyone with a football brain knows he's the best keeper in the Premier League. And when he retires, we'll start saying about how he's the best keeper ever in the Premier League. Mm-hmm. That's not me being delusional. I'm a very, very level-headed person. But when it comes to that goalkeeper and what he does just in general, how secure he is compared to any Liverpool keeper we've had in the past 20 years is just extraordinary. So big shout out to Slot and making us solid again defensively. And like Virgil said a couple of years ago, you know, like people want goals, I want clean sheets. So I think we'll hopefully continue to do that.
Keith, and you have 5 minutes to choose your nominated player. Evan, you have basically Trent or Virgil, and unfortunately for Keith, you have first choice.
There we go. You got. I'll go the easy one, so you can talk about Trent.
Well, you don't know. He might choose someone else, so we don't know. So let Evan. He might choose the one that you might want to choose. So let Evan go.
Go on, Evan. Oh, who's first? Me or Evan?
Evan.
Oh, Evan's
okay,
first.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, you got Evan. Yeah.
I'll talk a bit about Virgil van Dijk.
Damn it.
Sorry. Oh no, you have to talk about Trent. Yeah. Stuck between a pillow and a softer pillow. It's great having Virgil van Dijk in the team. I think he's really good. He seems like a good player. Nice complimentary piece to this team. Okay. So we all know Van Dijk's the best center back to ever play for the club, and in my opinion, the best center back in Premier League history. I've seen all the other candidates play. I know what I've seen. People will call me biased, whatever. But can we talk about some of the captaincy antics that Virgil got into yesterday? Because that was just the cherry on the cake. Obviously, he looks like a man amongst children, even on his most average of days, you know, going about his work on the pitch. But just the little things, you know, like the what do they call him? The butcher. Yeah, I don't know. I should maybe choose a new nickname. But that dude. So when he gets frustrated and he clatters Soboslai and picks up the card, the Virgil saying, "Come over here and do that." You know what I mean? Do that to someone who's actually going to see it coming. I love that. Onana gives him an elbow during the corner. Virgil pretends to collapse over in pain. It was just like everything you want from the captaincy. He's talking to the ref. He's letting Anthony Taylor knows what he thinks of some of these antics and some of the cards. He's making, it's everything you'd want from a captain in dead ball situations. And listen, Jordan Henderson was a brilliant captain for Liverpool, and no one can take that from him. But maybe people like this super like alpha, like masculine, imposing, captain's performance, because he leads by example in terms of what the actual sport requires you to do with the ball. But he also inspires people when the play is dead. And so that was to go and do that, have all those clippable moments on the turf of your biggest rivals. That was just absolute first class TV. And before I even tucked into my hour-long highlight session of watching the game, I tucked into some clips of Virgil just going about and letting everybody know that he's the absolute business, and by far and away the only man who should be wearing the armband for Liverpool when everybody's available.
Keith, that leaves you 2 minutes, basically. You can speak on Trent, or you can speak on anyone else that you may think we haven't given flowers to. I think we've covered the biggest protagonists, but if there's anyone else, you're on mute. So I'll give you about 5 seconds to come off mute and then tuck in.
Yeah, Trent Alexander-Arnold, love that topic. I think for me, criminally underrated in terms of what he's done defensively over the years. Teams consistently put the ball in his side of the pitch, so we have to see him dealing with 1v1s, 2v1s on a consistent basis for so many years.
Does he look leaner? Is it me, or does he look leaner and quicker as a result?
He looks leaner, a tad quicker, a tad stronger. But what I've loved the most is actually a tactical decision. Like, I was never a big fan of him being forced into midfield as much as we were doing over the last couple of years under Klopp. At one point, we were completely sacrificing the need for a right back just to have his creativity in midfield. So he's kind of gone back to actually being a right back again. Okay, occasionally he can pop up into central areas, but there's no obsession with it. And actually, it's put him back. Like, have you not noticed, Konate doesn't have to overcompensate as much over the past couple of games because Trent Alexander-Arnold is actually in the position he should be in. And for the first time ever, I say, a Man United versus Liverpool game, maybe you could put it towards Rashford's real dip in form, but for the first time ever, can you remember a time that Rashford got the better of Trent at all in that game? It got so bad that actually I felt that Man United were more trying to attack down Robertson's side than they were trying to attack down Trent's side. So, no one has talked about his defending or lack of or whatever. And I think that's a lot to do with the tactics. I think that's a lot to do with him being a right back again. And look, I could chat about him being a defender, or I could chat about the fact that he is still, without a shadow of a doubt, the best passer of the ball the world has ever seen. Give him the dollars he needs. Trent, listen, bro, you can be like David Beckham. David Beckham didn't go to Europe until he was in his 30s, and he still played for the biggest clubs, and he was still the main man. You can still be that guy at Real Madrid. Just give us 5 more years at least, and then you can go and be Real Madrid. Go play in Toni Kroos's position. You can have all of that, but we need you now. So, yeah, I'll end on that.
No, it's a great ending because we were supposed to talk on their contracts, but unfortunately, time constraints. I knew there's not going to be enough time to speak about that performance at Old Trafford from Liverpool. But hopefully, and I'll ask the guys privately, hopefully we're back on our usual time on Sunday, see what the situation is, and we'll discuss everything else that people want us to discuss, including contracts, including what now, including Darwish Núñez, Gakpo chat, Harvey Elliott, Curtis Jones, Tsimikas, Connor Bradley. So many people haven't even touched the grass yet. We will discuss all of that and how the squad's looking, how we think. So we'll try to go in depth in terms of what we actually think Slot's done tactically. And as I said, the contract situation and anything else that you want to bring up, because I believe REDFELLAS are back. I believe Liverpool are back. Slot has got us back in the mood of watching football, talking football, and that's what we wanted after the great man Jurgen Klopp. Hope you guys have enjoyed an impromptu Redfellas Monday night. Was there any Monday night football? No, there isn't. So there's no excuse. Yeah, you can't be watching Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville chat shit. Watch us chat shit. It's better. We chat better shit. Anyway, this has been Redfellas. Over and out. Peace. Take care.
Peace.